Hey guys, Dr. Linguitude here. Today I want to talk about a question about identity. So I wrote down this question, what is the core of identity? And does it ever change? And if it does, how does that happen? So what brought this to my attention was a lot of discussion in class about identity and how we decide on it. And one of the simpler questions to start with on that is, what is your answer to the question, who are you? And when I was thinking of some examples, I know that oftentimes when I get asked that question, the first answer I give is I'm Polish and I'm a linguist. And I was thinking about, okay, so if I have those two first initial answers, is that all? Is that the core, right? Is this what we reach out for when we're asked that question? And I think one of the things that we've got to consider is the context. Because depending what context I get asked, different things may pop up as the forefront, right? So we did this exercise when I asked the students to go ask 10 people, and they can ask whoever they want to, about one adjective that describes them. And then bring that list, and then we talk about it of what they thought was a correct description and what were they surprised about. And I do the same exercise myself to talk to them about. And it's interesting because oftentimes the thing that we describe ourselves with are not exactly there on those lists. And sometimes I know I was surprised a few times to hear an adjective from a person kind of on the line that I don't know, this is what you think about me. And one thing that we see consistently throughout doing this exercise is that you have the descriptions that you get are like 99% positive. People just don't tell you, don't tell you negative things about you. But what I was thinking about, even with my example, that oftentimes I say I'm Polish, and this is something that is definitely a feature that is important here in this American environment. Because when I'm back in Poland and somebody asks me, "Who are you?" I'm not going to say I'm Polish because everybody around me is Polish, right? Or most people around me are Polish. So context in that sense is very important, right? But then even if we just take this one description as an example, when we talk about identity or think about our identity, right? Because it's really just us thinking about ourselves and creating a narrative, creating a story of who we are. What happens if one of those core, whatever we define as core, but one of those core values, our core characteristics changes, right? So for a long time I thought, well, the fact that I'm Polish can't change, right? Like, I can't erase my nationality, my language, my customs and ideas and cultural narratives that I know. But now I've been living here for over a decade in the U.S. And I noticed that two things kind of going on. On one hand, people that I know back in Poland that know me for most of my life see me differently, as I'm not quite Polish enough anymore. That there are some American characteristics in me, or mannerisms, or ways of thinking that are not familiar or seem different to them. Obviously, I will never know whether it's actually what's happening or is it also their kind of a confirmed perception that since I've been living here, I must be different. On the other hand, when I think of myself, I do see some changes, and when I go back to Poland to visit, I see more and more discrepancies between what I thought Poland was and what it actually is. One of it is of obviously things changing just as they do in any country, but also I think the distance provides more clarity and focus on differences, right? So as I am here, I don't practice my Polishness as much. Think about customs and holidays and language too, right? Because I'm not in a Polish community where that language is around me all the time. Think about TV shows and music, and although I do listen to some Polish music, but not constantly, movies and books and whatnot, right? So I don't practice my Polishness in that way. I practice more Americanness, right? So as I look at myself, that is changing too, which is very bizarre if you think about it, because this should be in the core of my being, right? That fact being Polish. Not to mention, and this is something that every time I think about it strikes me very hard, is that the people that I care about most here in the U.S., and that's my friends and family, most of them, not all of them, but most of them have no idea about me in Polish. So in Polish customs, in Polish language, in Polish culture, um, with Polish friends, with Polish family and whatnot, right? So what they get is this bizarre combo of some Polishness, right? Because obviously, although I use the language, different language with them, I use English with them, but my ideas or way of thinking, or maybe what and how I say it, does give them some ideas about it. But they also see this conglomeration of Polish and American influence, right? And when I came here, I wanted to stay here, so um, I'm not against American culture and values and all of that stuff. I do want to learn and I do want to be part of it. So that kind of naturally, through the venues that I choose, that kind of gets into me, right? But my foundation is different. My foundation is different from somebody that grew up here, right? So in thinking about, what is our core as a identity, whether it's a nationality like it is for me or any other feature, I think it's really interesting to think about how do we define the core first of all, but also if it changes, can it change? And if it can change, how does it happen, right? How much control do we really have on it? So if you have experiences with your identity either really staying the same and the core of it staying the same, or maybe changing or maybe noticing changes and dealing with those, comment and like and subscribe. Thank you.